Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Betrayal at Krondor for what may be the final episode. Let's head back up to the first level and see if we can face Makala. Gorth looked up the narrow stairwell. It was definitely a way up, but he questioned whether it was the right way for them to be going at the moment. "This is the way we came," he said, looking to Pug. "Will we be moving up to the other level?" Yes, we will." Pug nearly broke his neck. Less footsure than Gorath and further encumbered by his bulky staff, it was a constant struggle for him to keep upright as they made their way up. Alright. Don't need to interact with that. Well, what do I have in here again? This one was pipe. Right. You know what? Let's go ahead and leave the stone. I want the gem. You know, it's very important to me. This ruby. It's valuable. Might want to, use it, sell it. Just keeping it because at this point. I need to put something else in my weapon. So we'll go with that. I've definitely not used as many of my resources as I expected. To a certain extent, I guess it's more useful if you're doing a speedrun, though. Or a non-search every nook and cranny playthrough. But I like to get all of the things. I like things. And yes, there have been more than a handful of people complaining about it. Too bad. It's my stuff. It's important that it stays in my inventory. Also losing our Ring of Krondor light. Let's go ahead and use that. It's just ridiculous to get one with 100 charges in it. Imagine if we could have sold that. I wonder how much it would fetch. Because I'm pretty sure they fetch an amount based on how much they have in them. How many charges they have. Okay, here we are. Have we done what we needed to do? Let's go ahead and bookmark. We have. The hallway widened. In a few moments, the path turned, opening into a large chamber where a dragon lay curled on the ground. Oh, hey! It's the Oracle of All. "I called for you, but was unable to reach your mind. The magician wields an amulet which renders this body feeble, and he is in the process of disabling the last of the defenses which ring the Lifestone. Makala is reckless, but I do not think he will have crippled you permanently. He must have unearthed some Valheru artifact, likely a product of Lyran Baktos, the Master of Dragons. While he would be incapable of ruling your mind, he could still command your dragon's flesh. My inability to know my own future blinded us to the possibility. It's something we will have to attend to later. Gorath, I wish you to stay here and guard the Oracle." "Thank you. It pains me that protection is necessary. Pug, you may require my strength when you reach the surrounding magician. You will have a difficult time in the Lifestone Chamber. No, Gorath, you have already given too much to this quest, and seen what should have been seen by no one other than myself. You would never so much as scratch Makala's skin before he burned you to cinders. He will be more respectful in the presence of magicians, and less likely to do anything rash. For now, you have a responsibility to guard the Oracle." Pug hurried Owen under an archway. "Don't you dare take Gorath away from me in my hour of final battleness." If that's the case, I'm gonna be not happy, game. The corridor angled sharply downward. Also, I guess when Owen touched the statue, the Oracle's statue, outside of Sethanon, we saw this cave here. That's pretty interesting. Let's see, the corridor angled sharply downward, its rough earthen floor littered with a slippery ceramic material which cracked underfoot with each step taken. In places the boy glimpsed ancient frescoes of a Mordell-looking race who stared back at him with eyes filled with enigmatic hate, the cause of which had been millions of years dead. Following a slow bend, they arrived at last at what looked to be a stone wall, but quickly Pug muttered a few words and the door shimmered away into nothingness. It looked to be a stone wall, but the door shimmered away into nothingness? Beyond lay a vast chamber, and Makala was waiting for them. Ooh, a sword. I want the sword. I hoped more for you, Makala. When first you came to us years ago from the Assembly, I sensed your heart full of dark calculation, but I had thought with us you would grow to gentleness. We Tsarani are of course bereft of that quality. Save your prating for the Assembly. You have returned my friendship with cold contempt, treated with my daughter as a wolf to his prey, and have defied my interdict to visit Sethanon. Assume nothing between us now, other than the respect due between practitioners. Why has the Assembly of Magicians seen fit to interpose itself into Midkemian affairs? As a whole, the Assembly was unable to reach consensus on this matter. They hesitate to dabble in matters that might arouse your ire. Otherwise disposed with a small problem concerning House Akoma, they decided those who felt this investigation necessary could conduct it of their own volition. I undertook that responsibility. I should be careful taking such weight upon your shoulders. It may yet crush you. 10 years ago, you engaged in a battle to bar the Valheru entrance to your world, a battle in which you requested the service of several companies of Tsarani foot soldiers. As such, the battle became a matter of imperial interest, and fell within the jurisdiction of the Assembly. You, however, have thwarted all our efforts to gather information about that battle, and have forbade our investigation of Sethanon. Many sons of great houses fell, but their bodies were never recovered for the proper rites. Your attempts at evasion are execrable, Makala. Never has the Assembly concerned itself with the souls of the dead, and I don't believe they are practicing a newfound piety. You wish to learn how I defeated the Valheru. Indeed, how could we not? The Valheru were a race of unspeakable evil and dread power who once nearly destroyed our world. Though my brothers harbor you the greatest respect, Pug, you would be incapable of turning aside such monstrous power unaided. Judging by the numerous defenses that ringed this abandoned town, we assumed the only possible solution. You concealed a thing of power in the caverns here. I cannot fault your fears, but your methodology has been despicable. The Lifestone was created in the darkest days of the Mad God's rage, a war in which the Valheru strove to destroy the gods of Midkemia. With it they believed they could conquer every corner of the universe, and in all likelihood they could have. It must be eternally locked away here, and its existence must die out with that small handful of us that have looked upon it. You will speak to none of the Assembly about what you have found here, or you shall answer to me. I cannot in good conscience keep such a secret. What if such a weapon were wielded against the Empire? Could not such a weapon lay waste to all her children? We cannot simply bury such a weapon. It must be destroyed for the good of all future generations of the Empire and the Kingdom. Impossible. We have no way to know what would happen if we attempted to destroy it. It may not be tested without potentially disturbing the Valheru whose souls now occupy the stone. As I suspected, you have done nothing to study it. Great though your power may be, you haven't an inkling what secrets lie within that stone. Its very existence is obscene. It must not fall into the hands of a hostile power. Makala, do not tamper with the stone. It must be left untouched for the good of all. I judge now, as is my right of a great one of the Assembly of Magicians. It must be destroyed, Pug, for the good of the Empire. Dang it, they took Gorath away from me. Well, I can bookmark. Okay, there is a way out. Let's see what happens if I leave. I have bookmarked. Makala raised his staff, not wanting to strike down the Tsarani, but realizing the choice was being made for him. Pug summoned what resources were left to him after the Temirianian Cup had blanked his spellcasting ability. Perhaps between he and the boy, they could still defeat Makala. Ow! Rude! Well, that didn't seem to do anything there. Owen's in poor shape now. You know what? I'm just gonna let the game kill us, so we can see what happens. Wait, you can use lightning in here? Rude. It's not doing a whole lot of damage to us. That's more like it. There goes Owen. And there goes Pug. Pug gasped, pain sapping his strength. He was unable to rise. No special failure message for that. Okay. Well, I am sorely disappointed at not having Gorath with me. I guess to a certain extent that might be too powerful. Do I need to use any? No, I don't. Alright. Go ahead and use that. Go ahead and use that. There's really nothing else to do to prepare then. The Great One hadn't noticed them. It's anybody's guess whether he's out to kill us or is just taking a stroll somewhere, Pug said. Probably best if we try to avoid him. Yeah, I'm not sure that that's the case there, Pug. They agreed to attack. Let's see if we can ambush Makala. Okay, don't know if that actually worked, but looks like it did. That is in my way, perhaps. Let's try Fetters of Rhyme on you. Okay, Pug. Fetters of Rhyme on you. Missed. Okay, go ahead and on the other side. There we go, so that stone isn't in the way. Fetters of Rhyme. Alright, I think we got this locked down now. What about Evil Seek? How will that do? Not much damage. Alright. What exactly are we facing? Dreads. 130 health, 51 stamina, 100% casting ability. Alright, so that wasn't all that great. What else do I have? Do Skin of the Dragon. Firestorm. 60 damage. Is that gonna... No, good. Alright, perfect. Let's do a Firestorm again. Might not hit that one. Yeah, it didn't hit that one. Alright. So you can't hit that one from where you are. These guys definitely have a lot of hit points. I am definitely cheesing this, though, with what I have done just by freezing them in place with Fetters of Rime. You would think that there would be some immunity to that kind of thing, other than just, like, not getting hit by it, but I don't think that there is. You know what? Let's do another Firestorm. Why not? As we keep knocking Makala back. Okay, one down. Go over here. What else do I have? Unfortunate Flux could be fun. Let's get an Unfortunate Flux from you. Well, that might not actually be doing any damage to him. Not sure that I have much else other than just, like, going with more of these spells that I have, like Fetters of Rime. It's damage 2 times cost. Yeah, I guess we'll do that. He's definitely taking like half damage. I got some of these items. $22 damage. It's not all that much. You know what? Let's try melee against him. There we go. Alright, Makala. We're coming over to melee you to death. He has pretty good armor. Very disappointed at not having Gorath for this. It was over. Pug stared at Makala's lifeless form as it laid silently on the hard stone floor. Hiding from the grief that threatened to overcome his pain and exhaustion, he turned to Owen. Saw the boy was on his knees. Pug was about to help the boy to his feet when he noticed a strange light filling the chamber. The life stone pulsed with warmth. Rays of emerald light touched Owen's solemn features, deepening the hollows of his face as he approached the blasted turf, occupied moments before by Makala's towering rage. Nearby, Pug spoke softly, his voice diffusing all off the cavern walls into 1,000 bouncing whispers. It may be difficult, Pug said, but don't judge him too harshly, Owen. I have performed acts nearly as monstrous in the name of common good. I find that hard to believe, Owen replied. You're a good man. So was he in his own way. Loyalty can sometimes misguide even the finest of men. Both magicians flinched in unison as muted sword strikes erupted in the corridors outside the chamber. With startling rapidity, the sounds approached, dissolved into pattering, desperate footfalls and howling, half-screamed oaths. "Watch yourself!" Pug shouted across the cavern. "Someone's coming!" Harried by a shadowy assailant, Gorath backed into the chamber, his sword flying in a defensive arc before him. Repeatedly, razor-like fists flashed out of the darkness to challenge him, but he skillfully turned their attacks to his advantage. Finding the rhythm of his opponent, he feinted right when he was expected to move left, and a warrior barreled past him. "Delican!" Owen exclaimed. Tripped up by Gorath, the Moradel leader crashed to the ground, snarling all the while in slavering fury. Attempting to rise, he slashed upward with his gauntleted fist, but brutally, Gorath stepped inside his guard and delivered a rain of heavy kicks until the older warrior fell quiet. "I suggest you lie still," Gorath snapped, wiping rivulets of blood from his face. "I may decide to kill you yet." "I hear you," Delican croaked, his voice weak. For a long moment he remained curled in a ball, his breath tearing raggedly from his throat as he clenched and unclenched his fists. With extreme effort he turned his head and looked upon the mesmerizing light of the lifestone, and froze. "No!" Pug shook his head, apprehension welling within him like a black lake as he caught the Moradel's expression. Stumbling forward, he tried to interpose himself in the way, but his failing strength abandoned him. "No!" Swatting Gorath effortlessly aside as he rose, Delican's eyes flashed with reflected radiance. Like a puppet on a string, he began to stagger forward, his steps almost childish in their plodding. Undoubtedly something had control of his mind. Dazed but alive, Gorath leapt to the attack and jolted hard into the Moradel warrior leader, his miscalculated blow carrying the both of them not down but forward into the lifestone. Together they reached for the sword. "What madness is this? Who?" "Something within the sword consumes. Can't fight it. Him. Ashen Sugar." "The Valheru souls trapped within the stone are slipping their bonds. We will have to kill them both." "But what about Gorath?" You must, Owen. Evil. Evil can't fight it. Him much longer. Can't hold him. Now!" Owen stared blankly at the lifestone. "We killed him," Owen said, a bitter hurt in his words. "He came to the kingdom to warn us, and we killed him." "Don't be petulant, Owen. This isn't a time for it." Glaring at Pug with shock, Owen opened his mouth to reply, but found that adequate words failed him. Angered, he turned as if to leave, but felt the Master Magician's hand on his shoulder. "Wait," Pug said, his voice more gentle than it had been. Meeting the boy's hateful gaze, he motioned for him to stay. "You must understand, Gorath was dead the minute he touched the sword. If we had hesitated another moment longer, both he and Delican would be dead, and an unspeakable evil would be loose on our world. When Delican began to change, you could see the Valheru were attempting to mold them into a form they could use. Do you remember the terrible devastation we saw in Temiriania? That would be a paradise compared to the lives we would lead under their dominion. I'm telling you this because you now have knowledge and abilities which come with terrible responsibilities. You will have to make decisions far worse than this someday if you continue down the path you are on. You're going to have to learn to think before you act, but never to regret your decisions, right or wrong. Otherwise you will slowly begin to not make decisions at all." "But how can I know which are the right decisions?" Owen asked. "How can I be sure?" Pug squeezed his shoulder. "You need to live to a ripe old age to know that, and I am not nearly old enough to have an answer. All I know is what Macros the Black once told me. He said to train those around me well, to make them powerful, but also to make them loving and generous. I see those things in you." The battle was against them. Enraged war leader Moraelf growled orders to his terror-stricken lieutenants as he reviewed their weakening lines from the safety of an elm-shaded hill. Watched with fury as his forward ranks of pikemen retreated under an unexpectedly heavy rain of kingdom longbow fire. Longbows? No one uses longbows in this game! In a short while, the combined mass of Prince Arutha's relief forces and the garrison at Sethanon would be in a position to push them into the only quarter of the city where they would be unable to retreat. And then it would only be a matter of hours before they would be forced to surrender or die in a blaze set to flush them out. "War Leader Moraelf, you must come quickly!" Hearing a commotion to his left, he muttered a silent curse on Delican's head for leading them on this fool's errand, then snapped his attention to a small group of Moradel who were advancing towards him. faces flushed with excitement. Their leader, a scar-faced whelp of 20 summers, knelt reverently at his feet before breathlessly delivering his message. "At the keep, your father has taken Prince Arutha, and I believe the Marked One is with him. The tide of the battle turns." Stalking skeptically after his messengers, he progressed through a ruined avenue and into a cobbled central square, filled with conversing Moradel warriors. Above them, Delacan mounted the fire-blackened parapet walk of the keep, preceded by a mysterious robed figure in the Prince of Krondor. The latter bound hand and foot, unable to do anything but follow where he was led. "Brethren!" Silence fell over the square as the robe-clad figure stepped past Arutha and Delacan and into an archer's turret, a hand placed over his right breast. Ripping open his white garment, he revealed a body made gaunt with hunger, but bearing an unmistakable curling purple birthmark, which resembled a dragon and was a mark of legend. Instantly, a chant rose among the Moradel warriors, many of them falling to their knees in ecstatic reverence. "I have returned, O my children!" Myrmindamus shouted from the battlements, revealing a glittering sword of gold, its hilt set with stones of lapis. "Hidden deep in the chambers of earth below our feet, Prince Arutha sought to keep this sword from me. From us, the key to our future. For 10 years he imprisoned me in the bowels of this hell against my will. But you have freed me," he said, sweeping the air with the sword. 10 years ago I promised you the dawning of a new age. I was repaid with abandonment, but today I am free because you who followed Delacan believed in our dream. You have demonstrated your worthiness and loyalty, and as a reward you shall all bear witness to the death of the Lord of the West and the final fulfillment of prophecy." A dark cheer rippled through the crowd as Myrmindamus held the sword aloft and faced Arutha, his lips curled back in a wicked smile as he advanced on the dazed prince. Considering the things that had been done to him, the crowd thought it likely their former leader would execute Arutha slowly, and they were ripe for the spectacle. Abruptly, Myrmindamus halted. Beneath him, the stones of the keep began to tremble, as if the entirety of the structure were being shaken by an invisible hand. His look of proud defiance suddenly turned to outrage. "What treachery is this?" Myrmindamus screamed. "Who meddles with the prophecy?" As if in answer, thunder pealed overhead, announcing the arrival of a great dragon and rider, the pair seemingly having formed from the very air itself. Floating down from dizzying heights, they descended to a point level with the keep's rooftops, the dragon's wings beating great gales of wind against the crowd. "The prophecy is false, Myrmindamus, as are you," Pug shouted from the dragon's back. "You betrayed the folk of the kingdom and those of your own people for a lie. It is time for your terror to come to an end." At Pug's command, Arutha ducked, narrowly averting death as the dragon skimmed low overhead, lashing the battlements with its titanic whip-like tail, curling both Myrmindamus and Delacan, screaming like babes, into the horrified hordes who watched far below. Fanning away from the impact of the two, bystanders hastened to escape, fearing a possible second attack from the flying dragon and its equally menacing rider. Standing in the midst of the crowd, Morielf looked on, void of pain and fear, his voice calm and clear as he addressed a goblin lieutenant who stood near him. "Gather your kin and call the retreat." "Lord Morielf, we may still win. Lead us!" Collaring the green-skinned creature, Morielf lifted him off his feet. "I now lead the nations of the north, and my first command is that I shall lead us home. Call the retreat!" Morielf spat, hurling the goblin backwards. "The day is theirs, but I must see to something first." Disregarding the panicked warriors who sought egress from the square, Morielf picked his way over the burning rubble to where his father lay dead, his wolfish eyes reflecting only the clouds of smoke which drifted through Sethanon. For all his father's grand schemes, for all the things he had thought to accomplish, he was nothing now, nothing but a hulk of dead flesh. He had been a fool to trust the Tsarani magician. Leaning over the dead body, Morielf snatched up the golden sword which Myrmindamus had retrieved from the caverns below. Although he knew very little of the prophecy which had inspired both his father and Myrmindamus to their deaths, he had no intention of wasting what little they had gained in the battle. Perhaps when he returned to the Northlands, he could still find a way to harness the power of the artifact, assuming it had any powers at all. Morielf! Turning, the Moradel war leader had no time to react before the lightning-quick assassin was upon him, driving a knife skillfully through his left eye and deep into his brain, killing him instantly. Without a sound, he crumpled to the ground across his dead father, dropping the sword even before he could raise it. Smiling coldly, Narab withdrew his knife and wiped clean the gray flesh from its bone blade. then snatched Myrmidamis's prized sword from where it lay abandoned on the ground. One by one, he had borne witness to the destruction of his rivals, Gorath of the Ardanian, his own brother Nago, Delacan and his son Morelv, all destroyed by their own greed or inaction. Now there would be the matter of dealing with the bitch Lialan, who had been Delacan's mate. And then he might even claim the throne of Sar-Sargoth for himself, assuming no bastard get of the former war leader claimed the right. It would be of small consequence, however, for now he possessed what they had all sought. Assuming he lived, he would learn to exploit this newfound advantage. Resheathing his knife in his boot, he spotted a slow-moving band of Moradel limping towards the Dimwood, and he hurried to join them, blending in with the crowd in the same manner in which he had come to Sethanon, as an unrecognizable face in a mob of the beaten and the angry. Arutha watched with mild wonder as Pug conjured the prince's duplicate into non-existence, then just as quickly eliminated the remarkably lifelike illusions of Delacan and Myrmindamis, who lay crumpled on the ground below the keep. The corpse of Delacan's son would have to be removed later by less arcane means. Shame we didn't have you with us at Armengar, Cousin Pug, Arutha said. A performance such as that before Myrmindamis's troops might have won us the battle. Pug shook his head. Spectacle won't win you battles, but at least it may prevent the Dark Brothers from plotting another attack against Sethanon. With a dozen or more Moradel witnesses you've left alive on the battlefield, most of them should return alive to the Northlands. Having seen their leaders die and possessed of the object Myrmindamis sought, they'll have little reason to return here. Let us hope. I have little desire to do this again. What about the artifact? A useless sword, Pug replied with a grin. The Oracle of All indicated a hidden room where I might find it when I asked for assistance with the plan. Shortly after that Moradel gentleman who picked it up returns to Sar-Sargoth, he will discover it useless and curse the names of both of them for having spilled so much Moradel blood on false prophecies. Seeing James and Locklear poking about in the ruins near the keep, Arutha scowled. I have a feeling those two are going to keep me busy for months with their questions about this place. Fortunately, they're loyal. If I tell them the subject is closed, they'll both trust me enough to leave the issue alone. You can always tell them the sword was truly what was buried here, Owen suggested. The answer is good enough for the Moradel. Arutha shook his head. Locklear will probably forget the matter once he sees a pretty young face at Krondor, but Jimmy is different. He won't accept it, though he will never ask anything more. I don't like that I will have to lie to him. He's as loyal a subject as I've ever had. What about the Serani? Owen asked. Nodding, Arutha seemed equally concerned with Pug's answer. I shall have to talk with them. A well-respected member of the Assembly of Magicians, named Hochopepa, already knows something of the event, and he will help me assuage their fears, Pug said. Thankfully, they have their hands tied with another bothersome individual at the moment. Satisfied, Arutha said his farewells and moved off to be of assistance in evacuating the remaining soldiers from the area, fearing that some might become too curious and discover things best left unfound. While watching the prince depart, Pug smiled quietly to himself, gaining Owen's attention. You seem pleased about something, Owen said. What is it? You will note that the prince said nothing about your silence, Pug said. You know the secret of Sethanon. In all of Midkemia, only Prince Arutha, King Liam, Duke Martin, Tomas of Elvandar, and myself truly know what lies beneath our feet. As if to reinforce the point, Pug tapped his staff at Owen's feet. What are you saying? Smiling, Pug began to lead him down the winding path towards the city's smashed southern gate. What that means is the prince expects me to guarantee your silence. That will be difficult to do. With you in Tiburn and me at my Academy of Magicians at Stardock, it will require that I make a number of long and tiresome journeys for the sole purpose of ensuring you keep your silence. It seems a waste of time. Stopping to look into the sunset, Pug seemed lost in thought. Of course, it is possible I could take you on as a student of magic. Your living expenses paid in full by Prince Arutha. Are you interested in becoming a true magician, Owen? Laughing for the first time in a great while, Owen twirled his staff in his hands. I've never wanted anything else. And that is the end of the game. I hope you've enjoyed Betrayal at Krondor. There is still Return to Krondor, and the unrelated game that uses the same engine, Betrayal at Antara, I think that's what it is, I will probably play those at some point, but probably not anytime real soon. Number one, this game took a while to play. Like 4 months, I guess. Over 120 episodes, 130 episodes, something like that. So I will definitely want to wait some amount of time before diving into another game that certainly has the potential of being as long. Yeah, I had enough fun with this one, certainly, to be interested in those as well, and I do own them, so I will definitely be looking at that in the future. What will be coming next after this one? Don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I hope you've enjoyed it, despite some of the favorite characters not making it all the way to the end. Gorath and Patras being two of my favorites. Jimmy, on the other hand, did make it, and I did enjoy him quite a bit. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next time with a new Let's Play. See you then, everyone.